That's the doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now, when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, welcome to the People's Radio United Weekly Show. I'm Tim Best Buds. We're here with a whole bunch of new hosts that are coming to the show. So let me introduce who we have today. We have Canadian Glenn. How you doing, Glenn? Glenn, you there?
Good afternoon.
Oh,
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
We have from Canadian Glenn's from The View Up Here. That's his main show. And then we have Top 100. How you doing, Top?
Good. All good, mate. You?
Right. From a non-UK radio, we also have St. Louis Gale.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Great. And here in LA with me, we have Nolan Hack.
What's happening? Thanks for having me, Tim.
Great. So, yeah, we're going to get started real quick. We have some topics to go over, but first we're just going to talk about what's going on with everybody and what we're working on. So, me personally, People's Radio, this is the big thing right here. This new show is going to be weekly. We have a whole bunch of hosts, and it'll be rotating in and out. It won't always be all of us, the same people. It'll be different great people. We also have Gear. We have Teen Denma. We have Steve Shagwell, who's in the hospital today, who was supposed to be on this show, but he's not. And a couple other people, too. So it's going to be good. So let's get started off with Glenn. Why don't you talk about what you've been working on and what you're doing in your show?
Well, good day, everyone. This is a good idea, Tim. Right on. I'm glad to be a part of it. As far as what I'm doing on The View Up Here, well, it's pretty much business as usual. Monotonous, droning Canadian politics. But I will be doing some View Up Here global episodes in the near future. I'm going to be doing a big show specifically on the CFAA. And I will probably be doing a show within a month or so on the Antifa movement in the United States. And otherwise, that's just business as usual.
Cool. Let's move on now to Nolan Hack. What are you working on lately? What you been doing?
Well, speaking of elections and politics, with the climate the way it is in the United States, I and some other folks very close to me who are very talented, working on something anti-Trump. And if anybody wants to join in on this, I can't say too much for security reasons, but my email is nolanawhack@gmail, nolanawhack@gmail. This will be a nationwide thing, so anybody in the United States can participate.
Cool. So, yeah, definitely get involved with that. And last but not least, we have Top and Gail from a non-UK Top Gear Live. How are you guys doing? I mean, what you been up to?
I'll let the lady answer first. Go ahead, Gal. You ladies before gentlemen.
No, I just lurk. That's all I do. I lurk.
With Anon UK radio, you guys probably know, had a little election today. And congratulations, UK. We don't negotiate with terrorists. We now bring them into government. We form coalitions with the terrorists. Just so you all know.
Yeah, the U.S. has done that for years and years. Welcome to the club.
It's how the country was founded in the first place, leaving the UK.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this coalition. We're gonna teach the religious zealots that you can be gay. You can have pro-choice for women. It's like we're having all these arguments all over again. This time with terrorists. A really ambitious target the government set us.
Yeah, that's actually our first topic anyway, is the UK elections. So, yeah, why don't you just, dummy it down real quick if you could, Top, and just tell people what happened in them and what went on with the special elections she called and all of that.
Yeah, so the UK decided to have a vote a referendum on our exit from the European Economic Area, the European Union, last year. By a slim margin, the Leave campaign won, incidentally financed by big business and assisted with shadowy groups as Cambridge Analytica and others. Incidentally linked to the Trump campaign as well, so it's all intertwined quite nicely. Now, as a direct result of the referenda, the leading Prime Minister at the time resigned that morning after the vote. There was a small period where we had no leader, and there was a campaign to replace him, in which Theresa May was parachuted in pretty much without any competition, and she's been ruling the country ever since. That was a government that won the election by a majority, so they had a mandate. Theresa May wanted to consolidate that power because the UK polls were telling her that she had a 24-point poll lead over her Labour compatriot, enemy in arms. So she decided to call an unnecessary general election, which she has only slightly scraped through with less of a majority, and she's now had to form a coalition with terrorists.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah. This is democracy at work, people.
Well, I'd like to just fire a couple things past Top, since he is the resident Breton on the show today, so he gets stuck with it. But
what you got?
Well, what I looked at is in every major metropolitan area, whether it was Cardiff in Wales, whether it was Glasgow and Edinburgh in Scotland, whether it was Birmingham, whether it was Newcastle, it seems that the Labour's message is gaining a lot quicker in the urban areas than it is anywhere else, which sounds, standard. That's kind of the way it goes everywhere in the last couple years. The left voices seem to be getting more traction in the urban areas. But when you look at Scotland, the SNP in numbers took a shit kicking.
Yes, they did.
But they're still the winners in Scotland. It looks like a referendum won't be happening now. Nicola Sturgeon, I would say, got a firm no from the Scottish public. But are you surprised that it was the Tories that picked up that slack mostly from SNP?
There's a couple of surprising results when you drill down into the voting patterns, because surprisingly, and this didn't come as a shock to me, but a similar thing happened with UKIP as it did with the SNP. But a lot of the UKIP voters, instead of aligning themselves with Theresa May and a hard Brexit stance, they picked the votes were picked up by the Labour contingent. But again, that's just an overview of analysis. Nobody knows. We don't know. In some constituencies, for example, UKIP lost, say, 5,000 votes as an example. Labour gained 6,000 votes. Were they all UKIP that went to Labour, or were they all new votes because of the 2 weeks of publicisation of Jeremy Corbyn? Because our media really hasn't reported positively on Jeremy Corbyn for 2 years. He's the terrorist sympathiser, allegedly. So, yeah, where did those votes come from? In a lot of seats, the turnout was higher. I think we were looking at a 4 or 5% increase in turnout alone, and that was in majorly among the young demographic. So, yeah, it was interesting.
Well, it just seems it seems rather odd to me that the corporate media has played up Corbyn as a terrorist sympathizer, yet here we are, the Queen May going to visit the Queen, to ask to form a government, and she has made a coalition with a party that has open support from the UDA, which basically are state terrorists in a lot of people's view.
Yeah, so they're the Republican Sinn Féin equivalent, which is the political wing of the IRA, Sinn Féin. You got, as you said, rightly stated, the UDA and the DUP. But we need to remember, with the Troubles in Northern Ireland, they were the Unionists were flag-waving nationalists and were in support of the Queen. So effectively, the Queen's terrorists are now in coalition with the Conservatives. It's a beautiful time to be alive, people.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm still baffled by all of this, and I hope to wake up tomorrow and the world is completely different. But you guys could say the same. I know Gal will agree with me.
I was going to say, you want to wake up? You want to wake up? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We're in the United States. You guys need to sympathize for it.
Okay, I've got one more, because I've already seen the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, who are kind of a little standalone from the mainstream Tory party, and I've already seen their leader saying that they favor a softer Brexit than May and the Conservatives were pushing for in different parts of the kingdom. Do you think there could be some wobbling with this coalition when it comes down to actual Brexit negotiations? Is the Scottish wing of the Conservative Party going to get to make more noise about this? Like, is there any chance at all that the Scottish Conservatives could turn on May and there could be no confidence that way, with the UDP helping or the DUP helping or not?
When I said it's great to live in a democracy, I lied. We don't have a democracy here. Scotland doesn't really have a say. So no, it's not going to have any influence whatsoever. Theresa May, with her clique of trusted confidants and advisors and political affiliates, they're going to steamroll exactly what they want. I've got something here, actually, that I'd like to read out to you. And this, where's it gone? This is commentary from a well-known political journalist in the UK, Mr. Robert Peston. He used to work for the BBC, but now he's moved over to ITV, which is a television network here in the UK. And a senior Tory MP has told him this: we all fucking hate her, but there's nothing we can do. She has totally fucked us. Now that's a Tory, senior Tory within the Tory party, commenting on the Tory leader. Civil war is about to ensue. Bring it on.
Well, that sounds to me then like there's no real desire from anybody in the House now for this to be a very long coalition government. It sounds like you guys are going to have another election within a year.
It can do. I don't know the mechanics of it. I'm not going to lie to you. There's calls and petitions, no less, here in the UK that for Jeremy Corbyn to form a coalition of progressives, a coalition of the willing, if you will. But how far that, or how much weight that has, I don't know. At the moment, the government is the DUP and Conservatives, but it's a very flimsy government. And to be honest, if the rumblings from the party, the Conservative Party, the way they are, Theresa May could still be out of a job. Because I'm sure there's some people in the Conservative Party that don't want to align themselves with the DUP. No.
Well, it's sure a good thing she called this election. It sure cleared everything up.
Yeah.
It was an unnecessary election. I was glad that it was called. We now have the media in the UK now reporting on an effective opposition in Corbyn. Corbyn, for those that don't know, Jeremy Corbyn is your guy's Bernie Sanders. He's the equivalent to Bernie Sanders. He's progressive. He's got ideas that inspire the young to get political. How's that?
So he's the best of the worst.
There you go.
Yeah, he's a politician, but he was arrested in the 70s. There's black and white pictures of him being arrested because he opposed apartheid. He's a civil activist that's now got a political seat. So I, for one, respect him. He hasn't changed from his principles or his integrity. Now, anyone that's got integrity holds a lot of weight with me.
Well, you know, Bernie marched in the civil rights movement. He did sit-ins with black folks back in the 60s. So it's interesting you compared him to him. And they did similar things. Bernie has pulled a 180 from that, causing irreparable harm to black people in this country, along with colored people. But I don't about zilch about Jeremy Corbyn. So I hope what you're saying is on point, and he's a lot more what the word progressive actually means, and actually cares about his fellow human beings.
He is. I want to say I've listened to Top compare him to Bernie for so long, and they're not really anything alike.
Their campaigns.
Yes, the campaign was.
I said he's the equivalent to Bernie Sanders. I never said they were alike.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't really know too much about Bernie Sanders from a personal perspective, but what I did garner is that he never took the black vote with him. Am I right in that, Nolan?
That's correct. For some reason, my folks are completely hypnotized by the Clintons, even to this day. So we voted in large numbers for Hillary in the primary. So that is correct, and I'll say this: U.S. elections are confusing enough. I mean, we have our electoral college, which makes no sense. But the little I know about Theresa May, she sounds just like Trump does. She said, and I quote, "I'm clear: if human rights laws get in the way of tackling extremism and terrorism, we will change those laws to keep British people safe." She also said we should do even more to restrict the freedom and the movements of terrorist suspects when we have enough evidence to know that they present a threat, but not enough evidence to prosecute them in full court. And if human rights laws get in the way of doing these things, we will change those laws to make sure we can do them. Basically, just throwing out, any kind of due process. And if we want to prosecute you, we will. And I mean, that's martial law type stuff. I mean, people compared Trump to Hitler, and there's obviously similarities. I won't go full board with that because there's no gas chambers yet. He's still president, not dictator. But you can make similar comparisons with May and someone who wants to be a dictator and create racist laws and oppressive laws. And it's a shame that she's even an option, just like Donald Trump.
That's the terrifying situation in all of this. And just to be clear, what she mentioned 2 days, the morning after the London bridge attack. It was less than 12 hours when she was ripping up our human rights. Now, I'd just like everyone to remember that our governments, they have laws, they have powers to actually arrest and detain terrorists already, surprisingly. That's the surprising bit. It's like the way they bleed on is they have no powers to stop terrorism. Yeah, you download the fucking film, you could be fined 10 grand.
Well,
where's our priority in law? Where's the focus? Where's our police resource being spent?
that's the thing that kills me about what's happening in the UK. All this evidence has come out about these people who are responsible for the Manchester attack. They were all known to authorities. They all had open files, but yet the terrorist act occurs, and then it's, oh, well, we don't have the tools we need. That's just simply not true.
It's a power grab.
Yeah.
How does Theresa May know what laws are needed on the morning after a terrorist incident?
Well,
she won't put a cost to the cap of the dementia tax that they're going to bring in. If you end up with dementia, you will have to pay through the nose for healthcare that you've already paid for, but you have to pay through the nose for social care for yourself. She hasn't even got a figure to put to that, and it has to go to consultation after the election. But on the morning after a terror attack, she knows exactly which laws we need to change to protect ourselves from terrorism. Doesn't that tell you something?
They do the same thing here.
Well, the other factor in the United Kingdom is the 20,000 police on the streets that have been eliminated.
They've taken 20,000 cops off the street.
Yeah, that's part of the reason she lost the election.
Yeah.
That came out just before, right?
Yeah, due to cuts.
I wish they'd take 20,000 cops off the
Yeah,
streets
see,
in Los
that's
Angeles.
Right.
I'm thinking the same thing here.
I'm right there with you. But
It's
you
a
have different
different country.
situation, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Though the thing that I'm thinking, one of the things I'm thinking about here is, you've seen a lot. Well, again, I should also say, with the camera phones and the social media 24/7 news cycle, we've seen more media of everything, anyways. But within the last few years, we've seen more police violence on civilians, especially people of color, and that includes Europe, and that includes the UK, and especially France. So that's interesting. That's a whole wow, that's a kerfuffle right there.
Well, I think you have to look at it from the I guess right wing or racist person perspective, where police are good, police don't mess with us, they protect us from the terrible terrorists.
I'm going to sound pretty weird now to you guys, considering I work with the anarchist community and a bunch of rabble rousers. That's difficult for me to say with my speech impediment. But I am actually for law and order in a just society when people do their fucking jobs correctly. Now, the police strong-arming protesters, being the strong-arm and violent brigade of politics, no, they can get fucked. They don't deserve any funding. Throw them all in fucking jail. Same as the media pandering to our political fucking class. No, get to fuck. But we're in a society that works. You do need law and order because there's cunts out there, excuse my French. So I do believe in law and order. I just don't believe in the manner that law and order should be about justice, and there is no justice. How's that?
That's true. I mean,
Yeah.
The problem is the whole system here. I mean, I know you guys. I was watching on November 5th when I think it was last year in 2016. And there was like some interaction going on between the police out there and a non-UK radio, and I think Reverend Ajax. And the police were actually like, being respectful. You guys aren't as scared of the police as we are out here, I don't think. I think there's a big difference.
But AJ got stamped on and arrested because he was carrying a flag at the last November the 5th as well.
Yeah,
Yep,
I remember
flag-
that. I think that's
flag
what they were
sack.
arguing about
Yeah,
online.
I was doing radio live at it.
Yeah, I believe that's what the argument was about online. But the way the police were responding, you would never see police in the U.S. responding like that. It's like you guys have more power over that than we do.
I'd agree there, but then again, you go and look at friends of mine in the anti-fracking community, which should be a unifying community all round. But the Balcom camp, you had the son of a political leader of the Green Party having it was the knuckle of a police officer into a pressure point in his neck being filmed on TV. And he was the son of a political leader. And that's because these people wanted to protect their water. So we've got similar issues. It's just not as prevalent over here. And as I said, things are a lot worse over your neck of the woods. I really should quit my bitching.
No, it's everybody has their own perspective, and it shouldn't be bad anywhere, you know. So we all have our own things we need to take care of where we're at. So definitely keep on bitching, Top.
I'm a Puritan, if you like. There is a utopia for humankind. It's when you take away the power, the influence of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, killing capitalism would go a long way to fixing the problems that we just laid out on the table.
I would like to add that one of the biggest reasons that the beat police in the United Kingdom are more reasonable, it's because generally they don't have lethal force on their hip like they do everywhere else that we're familiar with.
There is that. We've got a knife crime issue in the UK. We do have deaths because of stun guns, but you're right. The absence of weapons really has a marked effect on the casualties by gun crime, which is fucking exploded. Gary, what's the yearly counts at the moment? Because we keep a record of this. We keep a close eye on it. Killed by the police.com, is it?
Yeah, 15 and 1600. Right now it's 529 for this year, which is right at the same spot it was last year at about this time. But it's one of those things that's dropped off the face of the earth. Like the media doesn't talk about it anymore because of Trump. And so it's kind of gotten pushed to the side.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
they're starting to pick back up talking about it now. I think Trump is getting boring for him. It's the same crap over and over again. But yeah, it shouldn't be happening, and it should be talked about every time it happens. I think like it's the tragedy that it is. It should be major news. The police killed another citizen. The police killed another citizen. The police killed another citizen.
Well, it's just ridiculous that, and you guys are right. The death by cop, it's still horrible. I mean, they killed 5 people yesterday. They've already killed somebody today, and apparently that person was 29 years old, and that was in the state of Oklahoma. And ironically, they killed a kid who was 18 on the 2nd of June in the same city that they murdered Terrence Crutcher, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So this stuff is still going on every single day. And people of color, especially my folks and Native people, are just getting obliterated like we have since the 14th century. And if you want to get official with it, since the United States became a country in 1776. And there's always been distractions, whether on distractions made on purpose by powers, or just happen to get a lucky distraction to keep people away from what's really happening. Whether we have Trump, Comey, Nixon's tapes, Clinton's fellatio with Monica Lewinsky, you name it, or George W. Bush mispronouncing a word every 15 seconds. So, I mean, this has been happening forever. You know, it's just with Ronald Reagan's Reaganomics and extra, also Nixon helped push this to the forefront, the war on drugs. Reagan really just took that and ran with it, and then you have Clinton with the crime bill, and the fact Obama was black, that made people get really upset and set the clock back, and we elected Trump. So, yeah, we still have that as about a bigger problem as we have in this country. It just doesn't affect white people or rich people, so people take a blind eye to it. And I mean, the thing with, not to go on a long rant, but the thing with Comey, to me, I'm like, all right, this is awful. You know, Trump should obviously get impeached. His whole cabinet should get impeached. But then Comey also is running the FBI, so why aren't we also going after him in the first place before this even happened? And talking about the FBI actually ran a child pornography site with thousands of child porn images while Comey was in office. I have not heard one CNN, MSNBC reporter, God forbid Fox reporter, talk about that, let alone the countless other crimes that the FBI is perpetrating. But again, we have all these distractions, and it takes away from the oppression of, you know, the modern Roman Empire, which of course was worse from the UK. To take it back full circle.
Yeah, I think the thing with Comey is the thing we talked about earlier applies here as well. You had Democrats who hated Comey when he was investigating Clinton and the emails and all this and that. He's scum. He needs to go. The Republicans loved him. Yeah, go Comey. And then all of a sudden, he's investigating Trump. Now the Republicans hate him and the Democrats love him. It's just like that. Why can't both parties see the same person as the same evil? They're Clinton, they're Trump, they're Comey, they're all crooked, they're all evil, and say they're equally bad. Everyone has to say this one's good, this one's bad. It's ridiculous, and that's what's screwing everything up. People can't see their own evils, but they could see all the evils in their opponent.
That's the truth. That is, I mean, you talk about left versus right. Everyone gets on the left. Everyone gets up in arms when Trump's dropping bombs all over the Middle East. Yet Obama did it for 8 years, and they didn't say a word. And you had plenty of Democrats signing off on a lot of the things Obama was doing overseas, including genocide against Palestine, including all sorts of money, billions of dollars, billion-dollar deals going to Saudi Arabia from the United States. And Saudi Arabia is about as bad a regime as you have in this world. And that's exactly right, Tim. I mean, it's like a long-running distraction, you know, that the government keeps creating, and then everyone's just looks like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to figure out what's going on. Yet most of the important stories are just swept under the rug, and nobody can find them, nobody can see them.
I've come to the conclusion this is not some grand conspiracy. I've come to the conclusion we are ruled by fucking idiots.
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy. We had Richard Nixon for 8 years, George, well, not 8 years, okay, he won 2 terms. George Bush for 8 years, so yeah, that's not a conspiracy at all. We are run by idiots. What it is.
That may be a good segue into the issue of what exactly free speech is and what's seemingly allowed. Because, you know, we talk about gun deaths, and then talked about knife deaths. What I want to throw out there is, as soon as the latest attack happened in London, here's Trump on Twitter saying that, well, the old thoughts and prayers line, but you better crack down to prevent this stuff. But then within a week in the United States, we had the Portland incident with people killed trying to defend fellow citizens that look different than Bubby Cracker. And then there's what's going on in Orlando. And yet Trump just doesn't seem to even recognize that this stuff is going on. And this is extremism in the United States, but it doesn't serve his agenda, so it doesn't exist.
Can I just mention one thing as well? And did anyone change their Facebook profile to show solidarity with Iran after their ISIS attack?
Nope.
I don't have a Facebook profile.
Good man. But what your president, sorry, I don't know if you're all from the US, except for Glenn, I'm guessing the name gives it away. But your president came out and stated, well, if you're going to support terrorists, you're going to have to expect terrorism. Oh, the fucking irony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you got to understand, Top, most of these terrorists and their supporters from the white supremacist side over here that are doing a major... The terror attacks that we have almost on a weekly basis, these people are Trump's main base. They're his main supporters. Without them, he wouldn't have been elected. He wouldn't have anything. So he has to cater to them or he loses.
The 4chan president. Good luck with that.
I mean, you go, I mean, there was what, like 10,000 people marching at the Workers' March on May 1st. And we get to the end of the march, and there's about 80 of these Trump supporters standing there with NSM Nazis and all these racists. And, yeah, I mean, they're totally outnumbered. They're just really loud, and they're really racist, and Trump will never speak up against their terrorism. The media doesn't even speak up against their terrorism.
The other issue is those small numbers that are vocal, how come they seem to be getting the protection from law enforcement?
Well, for one, some of them are in law enforcement. There are white supremacists in American law enforcement agencies, and you can just look this up. This is reality. And people, I mean, this goes to what people don't know, but, people, I guess, a little older than I am, they'll watch a movie like, say, Mississippi Burning with Willem Dafoe and Miss Gene Hackman, and the movies about the Freedom Riders who were killed by the Klan in Mississippi, and then the FBI agents go down there, and the FBI agents see that there are Klansmen as sheriffs. That's in the 60s, so people are like, well, yeah, that was so long ago, and obviously all the stuff, and Martin Luther King and this and other thing, it was just so bad. But that stuff still happens. You still have, I mean, obviously most cops are racist in general, but we're talking about white supremacists, alt-white. I call it the alt-white. They can call themselves whatever the hell they want. But that's what we have so often in the United States. We have police officers, sheriffs, or whomever connected with just obvious racism or racist groups. And that's one reason why Trump's not going to do anything, like Tim said. And Trump wants to is trying to take white supremacist groups off the terror watch list. He'll his people.
That's
call
already
Black
been
Lives.
done. That was done in January.
Yeah, he signed the executive order to do that.
Signed it and everything. It's done.
That is signed. That's even more than I thought.
Nolan,
it's go ahead.
No, a couple of years ago, the FBI did a report. It's been major news in mainstream media and everywhere else that white supremacists have been infiltrating law enforcement for quite a few years now. It's their goal.
Yeah, I just posted a link to that in the chat and in our Skype chat. I don't know if you want to pass that on, but it's the most recent one from the FBI report.
Yeah, I can't see the Skype right now. It's in my background. Sorry.
I looked. I pulled up. I was checking out one myself before you did that. Thank you for doing that as well. But this one's by MSN, and the title just says report FBI finds white supremacists infiltrated law enforcement agencies. And there's a classified 2015 counterterrorism policy guide obtained by the Intercept. And that was under a black president. So when people, like, well, you had a black president, so obviously the stuff is all, over with. But that people forget cause and effect. The creation for this country, the cause of it, was to exterminate one race and enslave and or kill another. And the killing of one race and the killing and the enslavement, or now you have the prison industrial complex of the other race, is still going on. So this, if you read between those lines, all this stuff we're talking about makes sense. But if you don't, you're blindsided and you're like, how can this I don't believe you. This is impossible. America would never do that. No country would ever do anything like that. No cities or law enforcement agencies, and the law enforcement agencies, the police officers in the United States were created to patrol slaves, to bring back slaves to the plantation and to patrol native people and kill or keep them away from the white populace. It's hard to get away from racism when your very creation is that of racism.
Yeah, these people are whack. There's like tomorrow, what's going to be happening? A bunch of white supremacists are going to go to mosques and Muslim centers all over and probably violently protest with guns where that's allowed and just scream a bunch of terrible things. And that's their version of free speech. But what they're really trying to do is shut down someone else's free speech because they don't agree with that religion or whatever. So it's just total hypocrisy on their part. And you know what's going to happen when they show up? The police are going to be lined up against the people that outnumber them and be protecting these 20 or 30 jackasses out there spewing hate and spending tons of our tax dollars to give these stupid pigs overtime to do it. That's what's going to be happening tomorrow all across the United States.
Jeez. Well, and you talk about the free speech outcry. There was a study that was done which shows that prejudiced people invoke free speech to mask their racism. And reading from it, the study was carried out by a graduate student in psychology, Mark A. White, and psychology professor Christian Grandel from University of Kansas. They found explicit racial prejudice to be a good predictor of whether someone would use the free speech defense to defend racist attitudes. The study showed that those with high level of prejudice were very concerned with freedom of expression. They were also less likely to defend free speech in principle when faced with non-racial scenarios, suggesting that free speech was more of a convenient rhetoric point utilized when it suited them. So,
yeah, exactly. They want free speech to spew their hate and shut down everyone else's free speech. That's their goal. It's a bunch of crap. I've been dealing with these jackasses for years and years and years. Go ahead, Glenn. Sorry.
No, there's something that I just don't understand that's not, it seems so obvious to me, but it seems lost on a vast majority of the American population. The whole thing about invoking the First Amendment when trying to get hate speech allowed or violent speech allowed, the First Amendment applies only to the government shutting people down from free speech. It doesn't apply to citizen on citizen or citizens on organization or organization on citizens. The First Amendment is not part of that equation in any way, shape, or form. But every time these vastly outnumbered goofballs get shut down, they bitch about the First Amendment. It's
exactly.
You start to realize that those that talk about the Constitution and try to hold it dear and near to them very rarely actually read it. They can only tell you pretty much sound bites that they've heard in the past, and this is coming from a college professor who has studied this in detail. It's very, very rare that they actually know what freedom of speech means. or what the Second Amendment entails, because that's not really something that they might have in 8th grade civics class, and after that it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, you know, it's funny you say that. It's kind of like the Bible.
Yes.
How many Christians, and I mean this country is unofficially Christian, go, oh, if you're gay, you're awful and you're committing a sin. Okay, well then you can never have sex before marriage ever again. And if you do, you should be just blasted for it, and you're a horrible person and you're Satan. But they only read what they want to read and barely understand what they just read in the first place, just like the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. It still has merciless Indian savages still in it to this day. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean,
Ignorance breeds hate. Always has.
Yeah, I just can't comprehend all their logic. It's just based on sheer bigotry and racism. There's no other reason. I mean, and did you guys see the video? I think the anti-media put it out yesterday, the day before, with the Nazis running from a bunch of little middle school kids.
Wow.
They're in a truck, they're going through this little thing, and they're all nervous. I keep the camera on and back up, and all they keep screaming, "You cucks! You little cucks!" While they're fleeing, and all these little kids is throwing stuff, chasing them out. Oh my God, it was the funniest thing. These tough guys online, as soon as the police are not there, they're always cowards. They're always running. They're always hiding. And this time they were running from some little middle schoolers. It was hilarity.
Wow. That is pretty funny.
Yeah, I had to give that one a retweet. That was awesome.
Wow.
Well, then I guess in the next week, when the middle school that the kids are from gets spray painted, I guess they won't have far to go to find out who does it.
These were grown men running from middle schoolers.
Wow.
In a truck, like a open top truck, and he's like, "Keep the camera on him. There's another one." Then they got pinned in because there was cars in the parking garage. They couldn't get out. They were flipping out. It was hilarious.
Wow.
That made my day.
That's poetic justice for you right there.
You know, that makes me think back to the movie The Blues Brothers with the neo-Nazis in that movie. You know, that's a hell of a lot closer to reality than you think.
Exactly.
Well,
they all drive a car off a cliff together.
Yeah, possible. If May keeps her power and Trump doesn't get impeached, we may have to do that. But speaking of studies, there was a study done. You're talking about how people become so racist. I mean, it's taught. Racism is taught. It's not something that you're magically, just, oh, you're racist. Babies, 9-month-old babies have been shown to show racist tendencies as early as 9 months old, because of course the media, their parents, whomever, are teaching them that, okay, that the lighter skinned person is better than the darker skinned person. And the study showed babies are better to able to recognize faces and emotional expressions of people who belong to the group they interact with the most than those of people who belong to another race. And 75% of white people only have white friends in the United States. So that goes exactly to that. That when Trump was elected, or quote unquote elected with an asterisk, white comfort was at an all-time low in the United States. White people could not handle the fact that now their rights were possibly being impeded upon, that this nation was looking like a big episode of Duck Dynasty. And
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
And is Trump a direct result of American fear of the black man having Obama as president?
Yes.
I've been telling you that for months, Top.
You know what?
I'm asking a question for radio's sake. I knew the answer.
You know, the last show we did when this was a monthly show before it went to weekly show, we had one of hosts. It was going to be one of our hosts, Pastor Mac V, on, and he said something that was really awesome and interesting. He said every president before and after Obama so far have been white, and they only catered to the white people. They didn't cater to everybody. They didn't cater to any other group other than the white people. But Obama coming in had to cater to everybody. He couldn't just cater to the black people. And he said that's what pissed him off most about the whole Obama presidency. I have so many things I was pissed off about, but that's actually really, really true.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Obama was awful himself, but he did get things passed that didn't just involve white people. Some of it due to pressure, like the gay marriage thing. I mean, that was hardly his idea or him going to the forefront on his own, but he did push that in the end.
Was Michelle his proxy to support the black demographic?
He didn't support the black demographic, so I would say no. I mean, under Obama, this sounds ridiculous, but you look at it stat wise, and it's true. Under Obama, our dealings with the police got worse, and a big part of that is because he was president, but also a big part of that is because he supported the police. And there's a speech he gave in Chicago in late 2015 to the Chicago Police Department, where to sum up the entire speech, it was about a 45-minute speech. He told them, there's about 400 cops in the country, he said, "We need more of you." So you have a black man who grew up in Chicago, among other places, telling one of the most racist police departments in the history of existence that more cops from this police department need to be put on the streets. He went so far to call black kids in Chicago gun-toting criminals. I mean, this is. I was talking to somebody about this last night. I've also said it before. I was 20 when he got elected. I voted for him the first time and the second time. I bought it. I bought the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. You know, hope, change. You know, first black president. He's going to save us. He's our modern day Frederick Douglass, whatever. But if anybody was paying attention, and I know a few people actually were, who I didn't know at the time, we should have known. I mean, this guy was against reparations. He said that outright before the election. He was pro-Israel. He said that before the election. And he made the drafters of the crime bill, Joe Biden, his vice president of the United States. He made a woman who calls young black men super predators his Secretary of State. He made Rahm Emanuel, who makes a living off persecuting black people in Chicago, his chief of staff. We should, when he was doing all these things, 100,000 alarms should have been popping up all over the country. But we drank the Kool-Aid, and look where we all are now. But at the same time, we have this horrible two-party system, and who was the other choice? McCain, Palin, and Romney and Paul Ryan. So that shows you right there that until we get rid of this system, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Gal, I know. Can I ask what your opinion on that is? Because I know you educate minorities and minority ethnic communities, etc. How is your take on Obama, and is Trump? We've answered this, but the Trump effect because of having a black president in white America.
I don't have anything to add to what Nolan just said. He's right on. I need him to come to my classroom.
Give me a call. I won't put my number out on here, but you got.
I understand. I mean, what is Trump? Answer your question. what I think it was Van Jones called it the white lash, but we knew in academia, at least in sociology, it was talked about as early as 2009, the kind of backlash that was going to occur once Obama either got 8 years or was kicked out in 2012, which obviously didn't happen then. We knew this was going to happen. Anytime we see any kind of progress, and granted, there wasn't a lot of it, and I completely agree with everything Nolan just said, but anytime we see even the smallest step forward for any racial group that is not white, we see 3 steps back, if not more, before we're able to move forward again.
But was that the man, or was that the politics? Because
it falls into both. Obama could have done
mm-hmm.
so much more. You never saw him stand up for Ferguson.
He called us thugs in Baltimore, so he definitely was going to stand up.
Yeah, it goes both ways on this.
He allowed Standing Rock to go down.
Oh, do you remember the quote? Let's just see how this plays out. That was Obama. Meanwhile, Native people, water protectors, were getting their heads bashed in, protesting peacefully and getting water cannons blasted on them in below freezing temperatures at night.
Right.
And where
Look at even Occupy Wall Street, going back even further. Look at the way the protesters have always been. Obama was the first president in generations to have to face the amount of protest that this country saw, and he did not do it well.
No, he didn't. You think he would? Okay, I won't go this far, but some of the stuff he did was like Nixon.
Yeah.
Obama didn't. Hey, you know what? Yeah, there's too many bombs. There's too many dead kids. I'm gonna ease up. No, opposite. Just like Nixon. I mean,
yep.
Nixon really, and you can just check the Nixon tapes for this, but he was thinking hard about using nuclear bombs. And obviously there hasn't been a nuke used since 1945, but Obama has spent millions of dollars fixing and getting new nuclear technologies for weapons. He didn't go, why do we already have thousands of nuclear weapons. Why don't we kind of ease that off, and cut another 1,000. Let's try to get some kind of reform. I mean, I hate the word reform. I hate reform myself, but speaking as a politician, he didn't do any of that. He did the opposite. More war, more hawkishness. And a lot of people talked about Hillary and Obama, just like which one was more hawkish and, which one is more of a liberal. I've even heard some people say Hillary's more liberal, which is just funny because she was a Goldwater girl, for goodness sake. But Obama's only a liberal and a Democrat because of party lines. He does so many things that a Republican-esque and a conservative would do. I mean, he's pro-police, he's pro-Israel, he's seriously pro-military. He is anti-black. And there's a debate on if the word should be used here, but he's anti-native, he's anti-Muslim. So if a black person can be racist to other races, we can't be racist to white people. But if we can be racist to other races, Barack Obama is a racist. So he's just like a Republican. He's just like a conservative. He just happens to be a Democrat and on the
we had exactly the same issue with Tony Blair. Tony Blair was brought in on a fanfare, a Labour government that's going to change. He's bringing hope and change for all of us. He sold out to Rupert Murdoch, and he was a conservative in sheep's clothing. Mm-hmm. He financed the NHS revolution with private loans. Effectively, it's like he went to a loan shark and found the guys with the highest interest to indebt the National Health Service. That's what he did. Private Finance Initiative, PFI. We're paying 10 times the amount in value of what the hospitals actually cost us. But we're not just buying the hospitals. We actually have to pay the people that build the hospitals to service them in contracts that last 20 years.
jeez, 10 times. I knew it was bad over there, and it's bad over here, but that's pretty bad. 10 times and hospitals cost a ridiculous amount of money, anyways. Jeez.
Well, there's the exact same system that happens in Canada, and it's called a P3, a public-private partnership.
That's the one.
And basically the whole purpose of it is the government of the day can make their books look a whole lot better because they get to spread this money over 20 or 30 years. But like Top says, all details of these agreements can't be revealed to the public because, there are private corporations involved and we can't infringe their rights.
Commercial interest privacy.
Yes, exactly. So, they're all secret deals with public money, and Top's exactly right. The public ends up paying 30 years on a price for an asset that is maintained only by one source at a set rate for the entire contract. And then when the contract's up, well, then everybody walks away. So
what's worse is that a large proportion of the NHS yearly bill at the moment is to finance the debt that was used to purchase the hospitals. But here's the beauty of what these politicians have done. There's no such similar agreement with the 375 billion that they found that they borrowed straight from the Bank of England, not from private financiers, for the banks. It was a completely different method of borrowing. It was a completely different transaction, a vehicle for money transfer than they found to fund the NHS. Now, that is a state crime.
Agreed. Now, okay, that kind of ties in with what I was thinking, listening to all this talk about Obama. This is kind of the same thing. It's related. I think the issue that the system will not allow racism to be resolved is because it continues to hide what the real issue is. This is not a racial war we're fighting. It's a class war. And as long as you don't call it a class war, you can call it a war on terror, a war on drugs, war on Islam, whatever. Just don't call it what it is, a class war.
Well, I would say this. Classism and racism are tied at the hip, but I agree with the core of what you're saying. For example, slavery has existed in the world since nearly the beginning of time. But white people, Europeans, it clicked in their brains, hey, why don't we exploit a race of people, or actually two races of people, for free labor and drag one over to another couple continents and then take the land of another while enslaving and killing them. And I mean, slavery, when people say slavery was in the past, I mean, if you just look at slavery for what it was, not the prison industrial complex, which you can argue is still slavery.
Slavery is happening today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you just look at what people say, slavery was way back when, going with that argument, slavery was 20% of the United States economy. So when you talk about capitalism and classism and money, the almighty dollar, racism is connected to it lockstep.
So some of our biggest families in the UK, the landed gentry with the inherited wealth, mm-hmm. It's from slavery.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the scary thing. You look at the first black president, the first non-white man to be president was just like all the other white men. And you had a man named Bernie Sanders, who was by far the best of the bunch. He was, racist himself, horrible himself, just like everybody else in Washington, but he was better than everybody else. if Bernie was president right now, yes, things would still be bad, but they'd be a lot better. But they blocked him from even getting into the general election for the president of the United States. JFK was racist himself. He let COINTELPRO continue to persecute black revolutionaries and colored revolutionaries of the day. They killed him because he was too progressive. So that shows you how toxic this system is. And of course, again, the system was birthed from Europe, the birthplace of white supremacy, and birthed from the United Kingdom. And you could take it further. Gerald Horne, who's a brilliant intellectual, brilliant author. Nobody knows who he is, of course. But he has written and proven that arguably the biggest reason for the America's fight in the Revolutionary War was to continue slavery and westward expansion, aka native genocide. The UK was like, hey, this is getting a little too bloody. They did end slavery a little while after that in the early 19th century. But America, Washington, Jefferson wanted that to continue because for whatever reason, America just really, really does not like black and native people, but also because it's incredibly profitable. I mean, 3 billion acres square, 3 billion square miles of native land in the United States that is now in the hands of the United States. If you also include in the reservation, because even though there's treaties and signed documents, America can take those lands anytime they want. Sadly, look at Standing Rock, but that's a lot. That's a lot of capital, and of course, capitalism. That shows you how toxic capitalism is.
Sorry, guys, I've got a revelation here, breaking news from the UK general election. Kensington and Chelsea have just declared their vote results. Now, what's in your mind when you think Kensington and Chelsea?
An FA Cup game in the third round where Chelsea benches all their starters.
Kensington and Chelsea is one of the most affluent areas in London. They have just reported that Labour won by 20 votes.
Are
Wow.
you kidding me?
20?
No.
Wow.
20 votes.
Yeah.
20 votes, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
That's a fucking amazing turn of events.
Wow.
What does that tell you? Are the rich now fearful of the uprising, the pitchforks? Actually, you know what? A mild form of socialism may be acceptable if it saves our mansions.
Well, I would be curious to see the demographics for the voters in that election in Kensington and Chelsea, because
the
I bet.
The demographic is primarily white, rich oligarchs.
Oh, I know. But I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious how many of the Lord's young voting children voted this time that never voted before. That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, all the billionaires' kids going out and voting because they don't want to get themselves in debt for student fees. It's an interesting narrative. This entire election cycle has been the most fascinating in my history.
And it's that's incredible. I mean, I was just saying how, the U.S. was birthed from the UK. Look at the two elections, the United States and now the UK. A lot of people said the same thing about this election with Trump and Hillary, because the news cycle was ridiculous. I mean, it was like it was a tabloid election. I mean, you had the winner, or whoever the winner was, it was influenced so much by hearsay and leaks and I guess you could say political tabloid news, a lot of which was true. I mean, if you want to like say WikiLeaks was just lying, I mean, nothing they've said has been refuted, but I'm just saying. So it's interesting that you have this sensationalized elections on both sides of the pond.
You're absolutely right, Nolan. And there was a campaign in the last couple of days. One of the media that you mentioned is called the Sun newspaper. Now, there was a social media campaign against the Sun newspaper where people would pick up an entire pile of the newspapers from the newsstand and then hide them behind other products around the rest of around the shopping centre. So nobody could buy the Sun newspaper because of its absolute diatribe of fucking headlines. And you're absolutely right. I tweeted about this today. The free media, owned by oligarchs and offshore tax fucking haven interests, are a threat to our democracy, including you, Rupert Murdoch, and others. We've got an entire wealth of offshore interests dictating our democracy. I say fuck them. Anonymous has had a long-standing understanding of not hacking the media because the right to free speech. But if that right to free speech is corrupting democracy, because not everybody's got the time to spend. Free choice is you go and pick up a paper that your parents probably read. It's the same with racism. It's intergenerational. Right. So if your dad bought the Sun newspaper, you're more than likely to buy the Sun newspaper because you picked it up from your dad's coffee table. Now, when the editor and the owners of that newspaper are taking advantage of their position, that is not a free democratic media, and they should be shut fucking down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're right. You're absolutely. I mean, during the U.S. election, you had Hillary plants and Trump plants on different networks. I mean, MSNBC was like a sounding board for the Hillary campaign, and Trump somehow got his influence on CNN. You had Hillary, the leaks from WikiLeaks. If I remember correctly, Charlie Rose, George Stephanopoulos. I'm leaving somebody out, but two of those being pretty big time journalists, and for them to be, pounding the table for Hillary, that says all you need to know. And we don't have a free and clear media in either of these countries, and I guess set of countries in the UK and the United States, but we don't have that, and that's why People's Radio United and outlets like this are so important, because the facts need to be told. If the facts keep being suppressed, then you're going to keep having Nixons and Trumps and Hillarys and whomever else getting elected, and you're going to keep having this just speaking from my side of the pond, this American exceptionalism myth, bought and sold to the populace without a second thought. I mean, when I was 12, I was anti-black to a point, because for one, I didn't know any better. I went to private schools. I grew up in white neighborhoods, and I remember when I was about 6 or 7, I came out of my bathroom. I was trying to straighten my hair, and my hair is pretty nappy and curly, and I couldn't do it. I was just violently combing my hair back with a wet comb. I go to my white mother, being mixed race, and I go, Mommy, I want my hair straight. Can you fix it? Can you fix it? She's like a deer in headlights. She doesn't know what to do. I was like, I'm sorry, honey. I don't know how to help you. And my ideal woman as a 12-year-old was a blonde, blue-eyed, white woman with a British accent, because when all I saw on TV were white women and white people. The most celebrated sitcom in the history of the United States, maybe the world, arguably, is Seinfeld. brilliantly.
I thought you was going to say Friends.
Well, you can add Friends too. Seinfeld's just worse, so I'm using it for the example. But you can say Friends too in terms of popular. But Seinfeld, Emmys up the yin yang, so much money made off of it. They treated colored people like we were tourists on that show. The only long-standing actor on that show was the black lawyer who was the caricature of Johnny Cochran, and which is ridiculous because I've been to Manhattan multiple times. I've worked in Manhattan. I've been leisurely in Manhattan. Manhattan is populace-wise has about 35 to 40% black and Latino people, and yet you watch on Seinfeld, it's nothing but white people. So
see the same thing on Friends, though, in the same sense. I could think of one black character that was Ross's girlfriend for a little while.
He had. I was a big fan of Friends growing up, so he had Aisha Tyler. He dated Gabrielle Union for an episode.
Oh, you're right.
Joey. Yeah, and if you take colored people as a spectrum, he also dated Julie, a Chinese woman, for probably about a half a season. But that's very small, and that goes to my whole point. If this is all you see, you're not going to know any better. So you can assume white is the way to go, and the darker you are, the more uncleanly you're not clean. You're dirty. I mean, they changed a line in the Bible, for goodness sake, way back when. Washed white and made it clean. It didn't say that in the original text. It didn't say washed white, but they changed it. And just like Jesus wasn't white, but they changed him. So that's that's how things go. And if that's all you see, how are you going to know any better?
You can extrapolate that to so much. One of the most truest memes that I love is, what would Jesus do to highlight the hypocrisy of Christians? How many homeless people do you drive past to go to your church? Yeah.
A few, yeah.
How much poverty and destitution do you close your eyes to so you can go and preach to a God to show how merciful you are? Well done. Congratulations, oh religious one. And they get up every Sunday to do it. I get up on Sunday to do fuck all. I don't get up on Sunday, apart from to do the radio show if I have to. But these people are incessant on how Christian they are and how much they behold their beliefs, and yet allow poverty, decay in their own society. It's just to make themselves feel better because they've been indoctrined to believe that. It's not actually caring about people. Oh, I've put $20 into a dish that's going to a paedophile. Great, well done. You really
false altruism.
False
Make
altruism.
themselves feel better.
I love when religious freedom goes wrong, and they get all these laws passed and want somebody to pray in a public place, and you get some Satanist or a Muslim or something, and then they flip out. They're like, "Oh my God, what have we done?" They don't get religious freedom means everyone's religion, no matter how wacky, even your wacky religion.
How exactly is, or how is it working out for you guys, keeping church separate from state, by the way?
It gets harder and harder the more they put these really conservative kind of people in office. They try to blur the line as much as possible. They want a Christian type of Sharia law thing, which is pretty much the same. They just don't get that.
Christian fundamentalism, I call it. They're Christian fundamentalists, they're extremists.
Yeah, definitely.
That right there to me is just screams the hypocrisy that we're talking about, because why isn't Islam being pushed to be taught in schools? Why isn't Judaism being pushed to be taught in schools?
Pastafarianism. We need to be Pastafarianists.
Yeah, definitely. FSM.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't think any faith or religion should be forced to be taught in schools. I'm just saying the only religion you hear being, screamed, say, hey, we need to teach this in school to save our children, is Christianity. Yet the Bible teaches, be tolerant of other faiths and people of other faiths. But to our very children, we're sending the message, no. Only Christianity is the way to go, and anybody else, they're just of the devil. And you need to understand that, because if you don't understand that, you go to hell. But
it
which
depends
goes into
which
the whole
verses
Sharia
you
law
read.
thing. Well, yeah, it's picking and choosing. It's just like like we were talking about with the Constitution. It's picking and choosing. And logic gets thrown out the window when you don't read the full text and you don't have a full understanding of what is actually the situation. If you just pick and choose everything, you're going to have Swiss cheese and not a full block of cheese. There's going to be holes in everything you're talking about.
I'm kind of glad these people do pick and choose, because most of the people in these religions aren't so horrible, but it's the really crazy fundamentalist ones that don't pick and choose.
It's this, the evangelical in the United States, who goes on TV to preach religion and then gives a premium rate number for you to dial in money to?
The televangelical. I can't say the word, but you're right. Evangelicals.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, and evangelicals. Yes.
Why are these people not in prison? It's extortion.
Some of them are.
You know what? This guy Peter Popoff, he was a fraud. He's got caught. He was extorting, doing all kinds of, I think money laundering and all kinds of stuff, and scamming people, fraud. And he went to prison. He got out, and now he has just as big a population. He's selling some kind of magic water and everything online.
I'm going to be honest with you. I give religion a hard time because it's not something. I don't buy into conspiracy theories. We'll just leave it at that. But I do have friends, very dear friends, and they are religious. I don't think it's necessarily that they believe in a superior being. If you want my honest opinion, there are superior beings, and each and every one of us is a superior being. We are all our own gods. We're all masters of our own destiny. I don't think there's somebody out there looking over us and being judgmental and judging everything we do. If that was the case, I'd be smite or smitten or smote, and I'd be in hell. So that's my personal opinion. But I've got friends that are religious, and they live their lives by humanitarian beliefs. The 10 Commandments, you can't really knock the 10 Commandments, even though they're written by man. They're not God's willing. They were written by man.
A lot of the 10 Commandments are like, don't have any gods before me, don't make idols and all this kind of, it's just kind of BS.
False idols, yes. So that's the irony in it. I reckon 4chan writ the 10 Commandments. Do not have false idols, including ones that are supposedly in the sky, looking down, being judgmental and stuff. It's funny, but it's serious, because religion causes a lot of death and a lot of issues around the world, because it's in the hands of small-minded humans. It's the same with politics. If you take any political ideology, if you look at socialism and communism, in their purest forms, they're beautiful. It's when they get in the hands of fucking dickheads, it all goes to shit.
Hey, can anyone answer this as a real question? This always confuses me. The people that go by the Bible always, no matter if they say the Old Testament is irrelevant or relevant, they go by the 10 Commandments. And the thing is, one of the 10 Commandments is thou shalt not kill. Yet these same people always, always, always support war. I do not get that.
Would you like to know, I don't know if you guys know this in America, but the Church of England here in the UK has a wealth investment fund. £5 billion plus. And it's only recently that they've actually divested away from weapons and tobacco and short-term loans. Can you believe that? The Church of England investment fund invested in weapons, tobacco, cancer-causing fucking plants, and short-term loans that provide monies to the poorest in our society with 4,000% interest rates. Our church invested in those businesses.
Yeah, I believe that. It's the same thing here. These churches are corrupt, and they take some of our tax money, and they're tax exempt. And a lot of these are involved with people that are bribing politicians, or I'm sorry, super PACs, or donating, or whatever you call it, but it's a bribe. And it's crazy. These churches have way too much power, especially in the United States.
Tim knows this. The rest of y'all don't. I actually am a Christian. I used to go to church. I don't go to church anymore because most churches are just bigoted as hell. And the humanitarian aspect of it, that's what I believe in. I mean, I believe in treating your fellow man or woman the way you want to be treated. And yeah, I believe in a deity and the Holy Spirit and that whole thing. But the way it has been rewritten, and well, let's just for the sake of argument, let's just say Christianity is correct. But the way it was rewritten and the way it is taught is absolutely disgusting, and has should have no bearing on any type of religious belief, because it's ridiculously oppressive, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transphobic, it's racist, you name it. I mean, I remember the last church that I went to, I was in a grocery store by my house. The church is also by my house. One of the pastors, I see him in the checkout line. I have, I don't know, soap, toothpaste, and some Bacardi rum. And I just happened to be out of, some booze. I just restocking my supply. I was going to go home and drink it at 11:45 in the morning. But so my white pastor is right there. And when he is out of in the church and like comes out of the church and says hello to everybody, he's like, "Oh, hi, thanks for being here." And I'm like, "Yeah, great sermon." He smiles at me, he shakes my hand. But out of the church setting, he's looking at me like I don't belong in that neighborhood. I don't belong in that church. Using the with his body language, using the fact that I'm drinking, I'm buying alcohol, that I'm some heathen, and that's what religion is. And even if it's a new religion, one of the new religions like Scientology, or one of the old goody religions like Judaism or Christianity, it's so oppressive, and the people who running it, are either small-minded or power-hungry.
I don't know about you guys, but it's a tradition here. It's a tradition here in the UK where it's historically known that Jesus turned water into wine. Now, if I recall, and I may have had a dabble with wine once or twice, but that's alcoholic.
Yeah, let's check. That is an alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, but you know what they'll tell you? Because I've brought this up before. I could tell you what the standard Christian view on that is. Back then, water was so polluted they had to drink wine.
Okay.
There's always an excuse for everything. There's apologists everywhere.
Jeez.
Hey Nolan,
yeah.
you wanted to this is kind of a cool little segue because we're talking about two things at once. But you wanted to talk about opinion versus reality in bigotry, but it also is relevant in religion too, I think.
Of course. Even like I was saying, if you buy any faith, for what what is being taught, taking my own faith, you look at the way Christianity is taught, that's not the alleged reality that was originally written. I mean, all this stuff about, wash it white, made it clean. There's been references to Africa that was taken out of the original text, and you can't find it in the new text. So yeah, there's so much of that in religion, and obviously politics. So much of that. One thing I realized this recently: take whatever subject you want that has any kind of following or Reddit forum or whatever. There is so much gobbledygook and bias within it. It's ridiculous. Even like I don't know if any of you follow basketball, but the NBA finals are on right now. And since Michael Jordan, most people know Michael Jordan is, the man, the greatest of all time. Since he retired, people have been like, no, he's the next Jordan. No, he's the next Jordan. Just throwing it out for the hell of it.
False idols again, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So, and to bring it back to the original discussion, I mean, talking about, free speech. Well, okay, fine. Stop spying on activists who only want peace and protest peacefully and suppress. I mean, hell, and Tim knows this. I've had to create a new Twitter because my original Twitter was compromised, and the tweets were being suppressed and hidden. So
I don't think it was compromised. I think it was shadow ban. They do that to a lot of us.
Or shadow ban. You're the technological genius, so I'll take your word for it.
Because I don't think anyone took over your Twitter account, did they?
I
it wasn't
didn't
sending
see...
tweets out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe compromise is the wrong word. It was, shadow ban, messed with whatever. Yeah.
I've got a controversial opinion on this because I am a freedom of speech activist. But with freedom of speech comes responsibility. Now, if you're going to go and tell somebody on the street how much of an arsehole they are, you need to be aware that they are going to get annoyed and knock you the fuck out. Mm-hmm. Now, the internet is a great weaponization of free speech because you're not going to be knocked out for your words, whether they're true, false, or completely fucking outrageous. But you've got religion in one aspect, you've got political narratives in another. You've got the far right and the alt-right and the 4chan brigade jumping on and weaponizing the free speech narrative. Now, my personal take on this is, where is common decency? What should we allow? What should we not? Should we just allow everything? The common forum is, you can just turn off your screen, which is fair enough. But it's gone beyond that. It's now targeting and victimization and affecting people's lives, which is actually a criminal offence. Incitement to racial hatred is a criminal offence in your country and in mine. Now, that's not allowing free speech to prosper and, shall we say, develop debate and move society forward. So the racists and the bigots that think they're clever, throwing out, this is my freedom of speech. You're dragging us back to the 1920s, you fucking schmucks. Free speech is there to promote cohesion and move forward with suggestible ideas, albeit how radical they fucking are. Not just for you to allow violence against women, gays, fucking Jews, and any other demographic that you wish to throw bile at. That's not what freedom of speech actually means, you fucking retards. How's that?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have used the R word at the end, but yeah, I can get with that because like that study says, the more people like that are given a voice, the harder it is for people who are oppressed to live daily. And that I was stunned by this. PBS, which is usually a pretty good outlet for information and history. They gave interviews to Ben Shapiro, who was a horrible racist, and journalist, quote unquote. Also gave an interview to Alex Marlow, who is a Breitbart journalist, whatever, writer, and they did like a little series of the alt-right, the alt-white, and what it is, and I was like, why are you even doing that? You're making the situation worse because, one, you're making them seem legitimate, and then two, you are giving their hateful rhetoric a voice, and there are people who are going to believe what they say and act on it. And I mean, this goes back to the beginning of racism, and just bigotry in general, sexism, racism, transphobia, classism, etc.
Has anyone heard from Cassandra recently? I'm barred from following her.
Oh, Fairbanks?
Yeah.
Same racist crap last time I seen. I don't really look at her stuff too much, unless somebody retweets something mocking her usually.
Well,
she's everything that's wrong with America, you know that. And she's a Russian collaborator. Now that's beautiful in this current climate.
Well, see, this is what people need to understand. She is America. She's Donald Trump. When people say, "Oh, Donald Trump he's killing America. He's going to destroy America." He is America. His beliefs and ideals are exactly how this country was founded.
Gal, can I ask a question? Because I know you have difficulty with new recruits into your classes each and every semester or year, whatever it is the new intake comes in. What do you have to deal with by way of America?
That was an odd way to say that.
Yeah. As Nolan says, this is America. Gal has to educate America.
It's just a typical. I mean, they've been socialized into the American exceptionalism viewpoint before they come into my classroom, and they really fight it whenever you start showing them facts. And especially white kids. Just this week, I have in my social problems class, I have 9 students because it's a summer class. And I have 4 white gentlemen who just can't get past the first chapter because everybody's problem's their own problem. People just can't. Nothing's holding people down. It's their own individual issues. They took a class called Social Fucking Problems. We're not going to be looking at the individual problems, but it's just that idea that if I can do it, everybody else can do it. And I called one of them out and said, that's privilege. After he said something, he got so pissed at me. Well, welcome to my class. But at the same time, it's they aren't willing. Well, they will be. I'm used to this. They'll get used to me, and they'll learn something too while they're at it. But that whole idea of exactly what Nolan just said, that Trump isn't America. No, Trump absolutely is America. Trump is everything this country is at this point and has been. And it's just some people are finally able to open their eyes. Whether or not they do shit about it is another story.
Yeah, that Make America Great Again thing they all push, that's basically like saying, going back to the days when the Klan ruled everything. I mean, that's what they want. They want to have like white supremacy, literally. That's what making America great means to them. That's some kind of code they use. But they know what it means, just like I do.
No. Well, this goes into 2 of the topics that we're covering today. One about the Nazis, neo-Nazis, and the Trump rallies, the free speech. This also goes to what is reality, what is an opinion. The Birth of a Nation, the pro-Klan movie they came out with at the beginning of the 20th century, which Woodrow Wilson actually held a screening of in the White House. According to 13th documentary on Netflix, 60% of Americans watched that movie after its release. And then, of course, if you know that movie and know that time in history, after that, the Klan just got like a resurgence. I mean, it got steroids and just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And Jim Crow got furthered at that time. And just like a Donald Trump winning the election, furthering hate and harm against people of color and women and people in the LGBTQ community, just puts hate in broad daylight. It puts it back in broad daylight because since the Civil Rights Act was passed, the voting laws were passed, Natives got their last couple rights that America will allow them to have. The violence in daylight, if you take civilians into the equation, not the police, that has been tapered down a lot. But now we're seeing it again. You're seeing Trayvon Martin, killed. You're seeing Malcolm Evans, who was a student trying to become a doctor, great honors student in Delaware, young black kid. He was killed by a white woman out in public. So this is becoming normal again. You're seeing, Portland, Mexicans, Arabs, people of the LGBTQ community having to face violence in broad daylight. So that whole argument of free speech, it breeds hate if it is hate. If you're speaking hate, you continue to speak hate, people buy it. That creates hateful action. And talking about this particular topic, I was reading last night that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a white supremacist himself, he was a lover of Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson being a man who murdered double the people that Hitler did in the Holocaust. And he said this in a address at the Jackson Day dinner on January 7th, 1939. He says, "So I put in a radio call for General Andrew Jackson," putting it right to his audience. We need more of Andrew Jackson. And this guy, Mr. Roosevelt, he put about 800 natives in internment camps, along with the Japanese people, during World War II. And many of those native people did not get to go back home. So there is more opinion versus reality. There is a Facebook page, and I think a Twitter page. It's some big liberal form, like pro-liberal, pro-democrat. And the AVI is Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yes.
So if you live in this country and you're just like a normal citizen, you believe, if you're a liberal, you believe, we fight for equality and fighting racism. And
colorblind racism.
Yeah, the great colorblind thing. But you have a man who is a horrible, horrible human being as your ABI. That's who we're looking towards for light. And this is what we're teaching. I mean, people think that the right side of the aisle, the alt-white or whoever else you want to talk about, they're the ones who don't want to listen to reality or reason. Yet, no.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Because if, just say, Hillary Clinton got in as president, she would have inspired women to be looking to break the glass ceiling of in this capitalist society, which is a white male environment, and any glass ceiling that can be broke is to be celebrated. So Hillary Clinton, if she would have been president, she would have broke a glass ceiling, same as Barack Obama, and in turn they influence generations or an entire generation of children to achieve for better. What's Trump doing?
He's teaching them how to bully because it's gone up historical numbers in the last 6 months. Kids repeating his words and using them to bully one another. That's what Trump's doing.
But
I was going to say, go ahead.
you're talking about a person who is a capitalist, a believer in American exceptionalism, a white feminist who doesn't believe in the core ideals of feminism, who happens to be a woman. It's the same thing with Obama. Okay, yeah, he's a person who believes in all those things I just said. False prophet. Yeah. Well, that would be the only good thing about her winning. Just like Obama, the only real good thing about him winning was, okay, gives young black kids hope that we really can do anything. To teach your kids you can do anything you want. But she is, this is the opinion versus reality thing to a T. She is friends with Trump. Their family, those two families have hung out together for years. Their two children hung out. You don't have, again, I grew up in white neighborhoods. Okay, so there were play dates thrown all over the place. You don't have your children hang out with someone else's children if you don't have some kind of relationship. Trump donated to her Senate campaign and her 2008 presidential campaign. Okay, this woman gave a nice little eulogy to a former Cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, a gentleman by the name of Robert Byrd. So just her winning would have been it. Okay, she's a woman. That's nice. But this woman has caused and still causes so much carnage, pain, death to colored people in this world, in this country. That crime bill is still kicking our ass every 5 seconds in this country. What she's done
we need to remember her husband brought in the 3 strikes.
Exactly. The incarceration rates went up. That bill put 100,000 more police officers on the street. So if you want to simplify it, that bill put 100,000 extra slave patrollers on the streets, meaning racism just got pumped up big time. And if she had won, there was a report that came out. If she wins, her and George Soros were going to try to federalize American police, meaning create their own Gestapo. Now, people always say, well, Trump and Hitler. Yeah, sure. Well, that's pretty Hitler-esque. That's pretty Nazi-esque. Her own little, Gestapo unit. And we know she adores the police. And she's had her hands all over the world. Venezuela, Haiti, Sudan, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Saudi Arabia. It's ridiculous. Trump just never had the power to do the things that Hillary's done. Up until the election, Hillary caused much more pain to people than Trump ever did. It's just she had the power. So if you were looking at the two, like who's really worse, the question shouldn't matter. Why do we have to choose from either of these two people? These are the worst of the two evils. These are Satan's children. You had one who was Satan's daughter, and the other was Satan's son. Why do we have to choose from either of them? And even after Trump first attacked Syria, you had Hillary going, yes, that was great. I agree. Of course, she would have done the same damn thing.
But if Hillary would have done it, all these people wouldn't have been out in the streets complaining.
Exactly. You're right.
There's a difference. And yeah, we could have just eliminated Obama from the equation and killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Had the first black woman president, Assata Shakur. That would have been awesome.
True. They would never allow
it. It would never happen. But I could have my fantasies, dude.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Raise 2 glass ceilings right at the same time. Boom.
Let's get. I would put. If you're gonna make her president, I want to make Tara Houska vice president.
I love Tara Houska. She's awesome.
She is a queen. She is wonderful.
It's all about manufacturing consent. That's it.
Exactly. I was at the White House for 2 months fighting for Leonard Peltier, the great American Indian movement activist who's going to die in prison thanks to our past presidents and the FBI. And I had to look at this Andrew Jackson statue that was right next to the White House. I mean, it's basically like having an Adolf Hitler or Joseph Goebbels statue. And I got sick of looking at it. So I told myself, after Obama either does the right thing and releases Leonard, or signs his virtual death warrant by saying you have to stay in prison, which he did, I'm going to ask people to make a Adolf Hitler statue in the same park, because they're of the same immeasurable evil, Jackson and Hitler. And we did it for 1 hour. It was filmed. Of course, Facebook and/or the government deleted the footage, but we have the documentation of the signatures. We got 5 people to sign the petition to put an Adolf Hitler statue and up in Lafayette Park, and the people have no idea about Andrew Jackson.
I don't want to detract from all this symbolism, but I think we've got enough evidence now with recent elections, not just in the US but the UK. The media, the private financed media, has to take responsibility for society the way it is. Now, I'm all for immediate direct action and retribution. If you want to ask me what I would personally do, and I'm not advocating that anyone else does it, I would doss them into fucking oblivion. Excuse me. So their websites would never be shown online again. Excuse me. And I would personally go and pick up their newspapers. Excuse me. Bit of an episode. But I would personally go and pick up their newspapers and hide them behind other products. I would restrict their media and their hate bile being spread amongst the populace. The populace that doesn't have the time to research the facts for themselves. The lazy person that just comes along and picks up hate and pays for hate. Fuck that shit. Enough is enough. They've made enough money. They're losing money through advertising, online advertising, because it's all going to Facebook now. So they're losing revenue that way. Kick them where it fucking hurts. Any way you can stop this hate-biled media, Fox News being one as well, doss them into fucking oblivion is what I would do on a Sunday if I had the capability. I'm not asking anyone to commit a criminal act. That is not what I would suggest. But that's my personal belief. Fuck Fox News. Fuck any media that has a bias that is detrimental to democracy. Because it doesn't. If the politicians get away with what they do because the media fucking plays up to them. The media
They're both owned by the same people.
They've got a 24-hour cycle, a news cycle that needs to be filled with news. So they play up to the political narrative of the fuckwits that are promoting whatever agenda, whether it's Trump and his Make America Great Again. Can you imagine how much of a success Donald Trump's campaign would be if he actually had to pay for his own media?
Mm-hmm.
All of them, yeah.
But
that's like I said, they're both owned by the same corporations that pay off the politicians and own the media. So,
as
at least here in the
activists,
United States,
it's our civic and civil duty to bring them fucking down. That's me talking from a personal perspective, and I'm not advocating anyone to commit any criminal acts. That's my disclaimer. I'm not asking anyone to commit criminality. Just do what you feel.
Well, that's true. I mean, I agree with that. But it's tricky because, yeah, it's Fox News, it's Breitbart, it's the National Review, but it's also MSNBC, it's also the Washington Post, it's also the LA Times. It's the media, most of it in general.
Shut them all down.
Yeah. That's with the word. That's why I hate the word reform. The way it's used to when it's put into the discussion about oppression in the United States. Reform in the United States is evolved genocide. Okay, like the Welfare Reform Act by Clinton, for example. But nevertheless, you'd have to tear the whole thing down to do that, because there'd be some outlets like People's Radio United, the anti-media, etc. That it's true news. That, Unicorn Riot, it's true. But then, with Democracy Now!, but they're funded by Soros, and they withhold the information. You'd have to.
If we lost Fox News tomorrow, would democracy in America be better off?
It would, but then where you get? I mean, if you. My point is, where do you draw the line? Because most news outlets are exactly what you're talking about.
No, I totally agree with you. Where do we draw the line? Okay, where was the line drawn in American social and racial cohesion in the media? Have they crossed the line? I think they have. They don't deserve any respect or any protection, because they know where the line was. They intentionally crossed it for clicks, money, and self-interest. Fuck them. Let it burn.
Might be an understandable position, but most people don't agree with you.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue clicking, and they're going to continue watching.
They are. But if say, for instance, and I'm speaking hypothetically now, say, for instance, tomorrow Fox News released an article that's inflammatory against DAPL protesters. Yeah? Imagine if their site went offline every time they posted something that was detrimental to the harmonious society that is America.
Then they get their typical victim complex going, that they must be doing the right thing, saying the right thing, if people are trying to silence them.
There is that narrative. But this is a generational. I'm not solving issues overnight here, because America has deep-seated fucking racial issues since the 1700s.
Yeah, you know what I did kind of in my mind? There was a story not that long ago. I'm going to go through this real quick. About a couple that had a baby, and in the hospital the baby was a newborn, and they didn't want the baby to be around any black nurses, only white nurses. These people was like some white supremacist racists people. So what happened was the hospital put up a sign saying no black nurses, don't take care of this baby, only white nurses. And it was this thing, I don't know if they're being sued for it or what's going on with the hospital, but you can see how this goes from birth, these people making their kids sick and racist from birth, and then as they grow up, what's left for them? To become Dylan Roof? I mean, we have Trump supporters in this country that are the good ones, quote unquote, that are not racist, quote unquote, that are standing at rallies next to Nazis and KKK members screaming the same slogans. Something's definitely wrong with this whole picture, and nobody seems to see it. So when they go, of course they're gonna believe what the media that's on their side tells them, and it's just this big vicious cycle. And I think the only way to beat it is, like I've said before, and kind of what Top implied, is generational kind of thing, where people got to train their kids, and those kids got to train their kids to do better, and teach them to love people, and not teach them to hate, not keep them away from other races, and in fact encourage them to go to be with other races, and let people just kind of. But it's not going to happen overnight, like you just said, Todd. It's going to take generations for this to happen, at least one or two.
Tim, let me explain what my week has entailed. I see a Facebook post from somebody in my friends' extended friends list or relatives, and they're like, I don't know who to vote for, or I'm not voting for Corbyn because I don't trust him. He's an IRA supporter. My entire week has been spent fighting mainstream media right-wing bias against a guy that doesn't want the decline of the UK. Right-wing media in this country has corrupted politics. I think as activists, that's where our focus should be, because it doesn't just affect. There's the freedom of speech argument, okay? But when your freedom of speech impacts people's lives and changes the political narrative of an entire nation, that's not free speech, that's corruption. Now, I thought as an activist group, whether it's Occupy or whether it's Anonymous, we should be fighting corruption. Now, the media is the corruption arm of British politics and finance. That's their mouthpiece. We actually should be attacking media every time they produce a lie. Every time a lie is said, 1 million people read that lie. Say 500,000 people, 50% of the people that read that lie believe that lie. That's a swaying of a political vote. That's corruption. That's what we're dealing with. So fuck the media. They've had their chance to be trustworthy and to be left alone because everybody values the right to free speech. But, you know, when you give a kid a crayon, he either paints on a piece of paper and produces a piece of shit or a work of art. It's still beautiful. But when he draws on the fucking wall, he's grounded. These media organisations are writing on the fucking wall of our history and destroying democracy. It's time for them to end.
I'm with that. I mean, the question is just how do you do that? Because any manner that you can. Creative dissonance here in the UK. You see a pile of Sun newspapers, you pick them all up, you put them in your trolley, and then you go and hide them in the store that's selling them. In Liverpool, you are not allowed to sell the Sun newspaper because of its reporting on the Hillsborough disaster. The Sun newspaper, which allowed Tony Blair to be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and follow George Bush's war fucking path into Iraq. The Sun newspaper and Rupert Murdoch allowed that. So because of their reporting on Hillsborough, the Sun newspaper is not sold in Liverpool anymore. If any reputable business is caught selling the Sun newspaper in Liverpool, they're boycotted. They go out of business. That's how that works. It's not difficult.
Awesome if you can get enough people to actually do that where it works. Here it's hard to do that. People are not, even people who are really passionate about something won't do anything about it generally.
That's the resistance right there.
Is.
Trump was elected. We gotta stop this. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, okay, let's go watch the Kardashians. I'm bored. This is too hard. Forget this.
The media allowed Trump to win because he didn't pay. He was given so much free airtime because he was just outrageous. Like, yeah, we've got a news story. That's a corruption of politics.
The media wanted Trump to win anyway because for the next 4 years, they get to make money from all his ridiculousness.
Oh, yeah. What's his name? One reason why I don't watch the show anymore, John Oliver. You think John Oliver, that's all that is on his show half the time during the election. Trump. And although obviously he's anti-Trump, talking about him so much, giving him free media, helps him get elected.
Yeah, you know what? Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say what you were just talking about. I don't know if your media out there does it, but ours does this quite frequently. They'll run a story that's just a blatant lie or something that's just not true or not proven, and they'll put that all in the headlines, the big story. And then when they're forced to retract it later, it's a small little retraction that most people don't see. So most of the people who saw the original believe that's still the case. And it's a tactic that our media uses all the time.
Jeez. That's the
battle.
media. Yeah, but it's like racism, fighting racism, sex, bigotry in general. It's not going to be overnight, like it's been said, But we have to stay vigilant and keep fighting. That's the only chance we have. If we lay down, then that's how to finish the comparisons of the liberals during the U.S. election. That's how Nazi Germany was created. People just laid down.
Yeah. I mean, you could fight now or you could fight later. I'm pretty sure that in Nazi Germany, when things first started and before Hitler took full power and everything, all the gas chambers and all that, there were anti-fascists fighting the Nazis, and most of the people said, "Oh, they're evil, they're bad, we hate them," just like now, same crap. How are you gonna be upset and call the people fighting Nazis Nazis? People who fight fascists, their very name is anti-fascist, but then they spin it, oh, they're the fascists. They're trying to shut down our hate speech. They're trying to make sure no more Dylan Roofs come into this world and go slaughter 9 people in a church because of the speech he's heard his whole life from these fucking evil white supremacists, But no, they're the fascists. Why not? Blows my mind.
That's why I get called racist and a black supremacist for fighting racism. It's complete. It's deflection. It's that confusion and delusion that we've been talking about. It's that distraction. It's to switch the narrative, change the narrative, make a ridiculous opinion, erase fact, and create a distraction so people forget or don't know what's really going on.
Exactly. So yeah, I guess we've hit the 2-hour mark, you guys. Let's anybody go ahead and just say whatever you want to say to wrap this up.
Okay.
I've got a show on Sunday. It's Top Gear Live.
You've got a show?
I've got a show.
Okay.
Gal occasionally joins me. With
occasionally.
Superior knowledge than mine.
I love Top Gear Live. It's an awesome show. I highly recommend it for everybody. It's Sunday at, I know it's 1 p.m. my time. What is that, 8 in the UK? And
9 p.m. BST, 4 p.m. EST, and I think 1 p.m. PST.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm PST.
Then 3 p.m. in St. Louis. CST.
Yeah, definitely. Glenn, what you want to talk about your show before we go? What's coming up?
Like I said off the top, I'm going to be doing some global stuff in the summer. Probably be a break in the politics in Canada because, they don't like to work during the summer. Fuck it. But
and then your show's on Wednesday at 9
Eastern.
Time. No, 9. Okay, yeah, 6 my time. Cool.
Correct. And I'd just like to say good first show for this concept. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. And I'll see you soon on another show. Just so everyone knows, it won't always be the same group of us because we're not always going to all be available. But it'll be a combination of about 8 to 10 people that kind of rotate in and out due to their availability. And we're doing it every Friday at the same time. Thanks again, you guys. I think this show was great, like you said, for the first time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Devin. Thanks for having me. I will say, I'll finish by saying one thing. Next time anybody has an hour, and I'll tweet this to People's Radio United, watch the documentary. It's only 63 minutes. It's called The Canary Effect. It's so wonderfully but so heartbreakingly packs the 500-year native genocide into an hour and teaches so much of what we need to know, things that should be taught in middle school classrooms, but is not, because this native genocide of the people who should own this land in the United States and both Americas still exists to this very day in 2017.
Cool. All right.
I'd like to thank you guys as well for allowing me to speak. But I don't want to be misconstrued. I'm not advocating any terrorist attack on media organisations, but you can be creative in bringing down media organisations that are corrupting democracy. There's a meme online. It's the Star Trek meme where they've got a picture of Fox News up and Jim Kirk is stood there and he's stating, this is what in the 21st century propaganda looked like, that corrupted and allowed susceptibility of the masses through Fox News. And Fox News was there. They're corrupting our mindset. They are detrimental to democracy. So any way you can find democratically and legally to boycott, destroy these media organizations that have private finance and interest, political interest, destroy them. This is a democracy. You have the right to have media that tells you the truth, not just bias and lies.
Fully agree. Okay, thanks again for listening. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you guys next week.
Good to be with y'all. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Ta-ta.
Okay, we're off.
Yeah, sorry about that.